Hello again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far, and thank you so much for joining me here today for our first festive build of the year. I am so excited. I spoke about this previously in some of my other videos. I said that during Halloween autumn time I went nuts with the autumnal Halloweeny themed videos, and I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing for the month of December and probably also into January just a little bit, but probably less festive and more kind of just like snowy inspired. But anyway, yes, this is our first festive build of the year and I am so excited to be able to share this with you all. So thank you so much for joining me here today. Genuinely appreciate it. But we are building in Evergreen Harbor today on this, is it a 30 by 20? Yes, I feel like this is a 30 by 20 lot. I did debate whether or not to put two houses on this lot, but instead I kind of spread everything out a little bit. I gave this family a garage and just kind of made the most of the space. Now, what I wanted from this build was a more kind of rundown, more realistic kind of vibe to this house, and I'm pretty sure we achieved that with this. I wasn't working from any reference images. This is just a very, very, very basic shape of house, so I hope you don't mind that. But sometimes I really enjoy sharing and also watching more simplistic, more realistic builds. I don't know what it is. There's just something so warming about it, and the interior of this house, I genuinely, I cannot wait to show you what the interior of this house ended up looking like. But it's so festive, and it has this beautiful family friendly, just loving vibe. So very excited to be able to share the interior with you all as well. But the exterior shape of the house came together so quickly, as you can see. That is pretty much done. Bar me going in and changing some bits such as the swatches of the windows and just adding some extra detailing. But I did decide, as I was saying just about 30 seconds to a minute ago, I did decide to give this family an external garage. Now, not a functional space, but I did, well, I say not a functional space, that's probably not very fair. It absolutely is a functional space because I added like a ping pong table and various bits of clutter items. But if you wanted to turn that into perhaps another bedroom, then you absolutely could. Speaking of bedrooms, I don't think I've mentioned this. This is a 2-bed, 1-bathroom house, which it's quite unusual for me to do just a 1-bathroom house. However, I felt that because of the type of house that this is and possibly like where I envisioned this house being in real life, I didn't really think a downstairs bathroom would be too realistic, and so the family just has access to one main bathroom, which is located on the upper floor along with the 2 bedrooms. So I envisioned here 2 parents and their infant or newborn child, plus some twins, or like maybe if not twins, you could have maybe a teen and a child, or a child and a toddler, like whatever dynamic you feel would play out best in this particular house. But that's the family dynamic that I kind of envisioned when I was creating this. And then we just move on to landscaping here. I am building in the middle of winter, of course. I spoke about this last year when I did one of my Christmas or festive builds on the channel. I think I only managed to do 1 or 2 videos last year. So this year I'm trying to be a little bit more organized with my content, and I've already got so many ideas lined up for the month of December, and I'm very, very excited to be able to share some bits and pieces with you all, some like real-time building and some speed builds and things like that. I think I'm going to try and release a video on Christmas Eve this year as well, which is really exciting. But I spoke on my, as I was saying before I went off on a tangent, as I usually do, I was talking about last year when I created my big happy Christmas family home is what I think I called that house, and it definitely had a very different vibe to this house. It was very high end, it was very polished, it was a big family home, and that definitely has a different vibe compared to this house. And out of the 2, I'm going to be honest, I actually prefer this house. Genuinely, I feel the love pouring from this house when I was taking my screenshots. But anyway, back to the point at hand, which is what I'm trying to explain right now, was that I think it gives a much more immersive experience when you as the viewer can see that I'm building in winter, I'm building in snow. And because this is a festive Christmas build, I wanted that to come across within the footage as well. I wanted you to feel very cozy while you're watching this video. Perhaps you're sat there with a cup of hot chocolate or a coffee or a tea or whatever beverage that you have decided to drink whilst you are watching this video. I wanted to give off all these super just like cozy vibes, and it's very important for me to build the houses in the season that I imagine the houses that I build are in. So like, for example, autumn is much easier to build in The Sims as opposed to winter. I have no idea what this house looks like in spring or summer. The landscaping could be absolute garbage. I genuinely have no idea. All I know is that it looks good in the season of winter, which is exactly what this build has been designed for. This is exactly, you know, the season that this build belongs in. So I've stopped worrying so much about what the house might look like in spring or summer, because if you are not a fan of the landscaping, then you are absolutely welcome to change it up and, you know, make any changes that you see fit. As with all of my builds, I don't know many people that would download one of my builds and make 0 changes. I don't know of anyone that would do that. If I were downloading houses from the gallery, from creators, there would be certain changes that I would be making. And so I'm not naive enough to think that people download my builds and make no changes whatsoever, because that's just not realistic. Of course, you know, with this being a festive build, it just made the most sense to build it in winter. I'm hoping that all makes sense. We got there in the end with the explanation as to why I build my Christmas and festive houses in the season of winter. But yes, anyway, I'm hoping that this house kind of gets across the more, it's not neglected and it's not really necessarily run down. It's probably more outdated is how I would describe this house. It could do with a little bit of TLC on the outside. Maybe some of the landscaping pieces need a little bit of encouragement, or some, you know, like a gardener sim to move in and possibly clip things back and just make things look a little bit more polished. Or we'll talk about the interior when we move on to the interior. But the family here probably just they're not even thinking about doing any of those changes, because this house is exactly what it's supposed to be. Anyway, not very good at explaining things as per usual. We have moved on to the interior of this house. So the downstairs consists of as soon as you walk in, you're greeted with the living room with the staircase inside of it. I've said many times how cozy I think that feels, and so it was really important for me to include that in this particular build. And then we have the kitchen through the archway, and then we have a separate dining space on the upper floor. We have the main bedroom, we have the twin kids room, we have of course the hallway, and then the main bathroom for the family as well. So this house is very spacious, and as you can see when we've moved on to the interior, the carpets are a little bit stained, you know, like I said, outdated. The wallpaper has kind of like this dampness across the bottom of it. Again, could probably do with a little bit of TLC, but the family that lives here just adore spending time together. They love each other so much. They love Christmas. At Christmas time, they really do go to town on the Christmas decorations, and you'll have noticed like the plastic snowman outside along with some of the garlands, and then there's a wreath on the door and things like that. This family loves Christmas. Like, I love Christmas too. And yeah, they love this house. They love one another so much, and they've probably been here for years. They've either been here for years, or this house has perhaps been passed down through generations through the family, and now they're the ones that have this house, and they're just like, right, yep, let's decorate it for Winterfest and or Christmas. So you'll notice now that we've moved on to the living room, which by the way I find super cozy. Nothing really matches, but it also kind of matches at the same time. It sort of works but sort of doesn't, and I love that about this house. I love creating houses that have that more, as I was saying at the beginning, that more realistic mismatched kind of appearance and approach. It just makes things a little bit more immersive in gameplay. I feel when you're playing a Sims family in a more realistic sort of house, I think it just adds to that experience of the game. Like, if you have Sims that live in mansions and perfectly pristine apartments and things like that, that's amazing. Like, I create those builds sometimes, but every now and again I really do. I have this soft spot in my heart for builds like this, and so I love creating things like this. I'd love to see the sort of Sims families that you would move in here. So as always, please feel free to share your comments down below. Rach, I've moved this family in here, or this is perfect for the family that I'm currently playing in my legacy. Send me a message on Instagram, on X if anyone's still over there. I know that I am. I'm not necessarily using it as much as I used to, but yeah, just touch base. Just tell me. There's nothing more heartwarming than me reading a message from someone saying, Rachel, I'm playing in one of your builds and this is what's happening. It genuinely does make my day, and I can't thank all of you enough. Those of you that do it, just thank you. It just makes me feel very special. So thank you so much. But yes, the living room is almost done. I just add some more cluttery kind of pieces, such as this used mug on the end table here, along with a stack of magazines. And then you'll just see, like, obviously the Christmas decorations coming in as well. I didn't want it to feel overwhelmingly like Santa's grotto in this house. That's not necessarily the look that I was going for, but I definitely wanted there to be enough of it to kind of get across the fact that this family are currently set up for Christmas/Winterfest. So I'm pretty sure we got that vibe across with this entire build, but I'm just thrilled with how it turned out, and I'm so glad that I switched out that rug that was there from, I think that one was from For Rent, sorry, and then I replaced it with this one from Werewolves, just because I think it just portrayed like exactly what I wanted this rug to portray. You know, it just kind of tied everything together in a really wonderful way, and so I'm really thrilled that I decided to switch that out, and then just adding some more Christmas festive decorations here. And then we move on to the kitchen. I was initially going to use the counters from Horse Ranch, but I quickly pulled away from that idea and decided to use these ones from just Base Game in this really lovely kind of chestnutty wood colour, because I thought, you know, they of course work super well with the vibe of the house, whether it's Christmas/Winterfest or not. But it's been a while since I've used these particular counters, and I'm not really sure why that is, because the Base Game counters, I'm going to be honest, whilst they're a very niche kind of style, they work so well with the right builds. And this is one of those builds where I knew that I was going to have to use the Base Game counters, because they do look slightly dated. You know, we're looking at, like, what is it, 10 years since The Sims 4 came out? Has it been 10 years? Maybe not quite 10 years. We'll see. Anyway, the point is that things have come a long way in 10 years, you know, not only in gaming, but what I'm referring to here is like furnishings in houses. We're not where we were 10 years ago. So I think, you know, a lot of Base Game items come in really handy for builds like this, and that was the point that I was trying to make oh so ineloquently. But the kitchen actually ended up being a really large space, much larger than I had initially anticipated when I was creating the exterior of this build. And it's funny actually, because the last speed build that I did, I think I did a life house and a death house with the Sims 4 Life and Death. I will pop a card in the top right hand corner for you if you'd like to check that video out. It's something a little bit different compared to a video like this, but I had mentioned that what I do is I create the exterior of my builds. I'll go in, I'll do everything, and then the interior is a later on problem. You know, if I have to do some jiggery pokery with the floor plan to get it to work with what I've already built on the external, then that is exactly what I'm going to do. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Smart builders will build a shell and then they'll move on to the floor plan, and then they'll adjust things accordingly as and when they need to. I, on the other hand, work exactly opposite to that. I create the exterior and then worry about the interior later. Like, the interior, whilst I love doing interiors of builds, is definitely an afterthought. Very wrongly, because that's where the story is told primarily. But yes, Anyway, the kitchen is pretty much almost done. I love the vibes in here. I love the fact that the tiles on the floors and the walls don't match whatsoever. It's almost like the tiles on the walls have been there since the house was built, and then the family were like, yeah, let's change the floor tiles. Maybe let's put some laminate down, try and save on some money, and they just don't match. Like, they kind of match, but they don't really match. They match just enough for the family to kind of think, well, this kind of matches. I think we got away with that, which is how a lot of people operate and work. And I'm going to be honest, I much prefer mismatched houses. I think they have a lot more character. Anyway, so the living room's done, the kitchen's done, and then we move on to this very small dining area here. I think looking back, I perhaps would have popped it out just another tile just to give the family a little bit more room, but this space is functional. I play tested this just to make sure that your Sims could sit at the table comfortably and enjoy a meal, and they could, so that's absolutely fine. And then of course they do have the kitchen island as well in the kitchen, quelle surprise. Yes, a kitchen island in the kitchen, it's revolutionary. There's a couple of seats there is what I was trying to say. So if your Sims don't really fancy eating in the dining room, then they absolutely have the option to eat at the kitchen island as well, which I love. And then just, again, adding some more, I would say more tacky, very loosely Christmas decorations, because I wanted, that's kind of the vibe that I was going for with this house. A little bit tacky, but a little bit cheesy, but we love it. Like, it looks so good. I am so genuinely thrilled with this house. I really am. And if you wanted to de-Christmasify it, that's not even a thing. De-Christmassy it, that's how we're going to say it, then it would be very easily done. You just have to take some items out, switch some items in, and I think you could definitely just continue on with the theme that I have started with this house. And then, as I said at the beginning, the garage space, it's full of activities. We have a ping pong table here, we have a workout machine as well. I wanted this space to be kind of like a garage, in that this is where your Sims are storing their things, but I also wanted it to be a functional space, so perhaps the parents and all the kids could come out and have a game of ping pong, but then I also wanted there to be some cluttery items in here as well, which kind of got across the message that this is indeed a garage. And I have said it before, I'm really hoping that next year we receive some sort of like garage decor pack. Whilst I don't really ever think that cars are going to be drivable in The Sims 4, not in the capacity that we're used to with the previous Sims games, I'm perfectly fine with that, and I know that a lot of people are, but there are also a lot of people that want cars. I would just really like a garage pack where we have kind of functional but cluttery items to help us decorate garages. I think that would be really fun. And I know that when I mentioned this last, we're probably looking about 2 months ago now, but there were so many people that said, oh my God, Rachel, yes, I would love that too. So there's plenty of people that want this. I'm just hoping that it's not a kit, and if it is a kit, they need to add some gameplay value to it as well. But anyway, I don't want to get into that discussion right now, I'm going to be honest. But that's kind of one of the packs I'm hoping for next year. Anyway, garage is done, so that's the entire downstairs done of this house. So excited. And this is the main bedroom. It's such a good size. I got up here and I was like, oh my gosh, I could have perhaps given this family an ensuite off this room, but again, just trying to stick with the kind of more realistic vibes of this house, I decided not to. That's not to say if you move your Sims in here and you think, no, there really needs to be an ensuite in this room, there's definitely room to do it. I have a lot of cluttery, non-functional pieces in here that could definitely be deleted so that you could fit in your utility room. And then I remembered that we have radiators in this game, and I think I only added them to the main bedroom and then the living room. I don't think I added them to any of the other rooms, which is such a shame. I don't know why I didn't do that. Like, that's just classic Rachel. I'll remember that we have radiators and I won't add them to every single one of the rooms. I'll just remember like a couple of the rooms. So if you download this, you might want to add some more radiators, but it's entirely up to you. But yeah, I did decide to put a fireplace in this bedroom as well, because I did realize that I added a chimney onto the exterior of this house, and so when the fire's lit, then obviously the chimney smokes, and it just made the most sense. I don't think anybody would have been coming for me, sorry, if I hadn't have added a fireplace. It's just that I had the space to do it, so I thought, why not? Why not? I wasn't able to fit one in the living room, unfortunately, which is something that really upset me when I started working on that living room. I was so upset with myself. I was like, how did I not leave any room for a fireplace in a festive Christmas build? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, main bedroom is done, and then we move on to the main bathroom. So it has a shower bath combination in here. There's a toilet, of course. There's a sink. Just sticking with that warm chestnutty red as well with this sink, which I believe is from Parenthood, and it's a sink that I use quite a lot actually. It's very versatile. It fits in with many different styles of houses that I've built and I will continue to build. So it's just something that I end up adding. And as you can see, this is like the hallway / landing for the top of the stairs. Now you'll notice that there are some kind of activities in the back garden, such as a clothesline, there's a swing set, there's a slide. I did add them on camera, but I did finish off and finalize all of the details of the back garden off camera, because it was basically just me kind of replicating the landscaping detailing that we'd put on the front of the house at the back. So I was like, I don't think anybody really wants to sit in on that. But yes, the upstairs is nearly done, and then we move on to this twin room here. So as I said, I envisioned a set of twins in this room, but of course, if you don't have twins in your game, then this could be a teen room, it could be a toddler room, it could be a nursery, it could be anything. Like, you could fit 3-4 kids in here if you did bunk beds. Like, that would be really cool. But I just wanted to turn this into a twin room without bunk beds. I feel like it's been a while since I've done a bedroom with 2 beds that aren't bunk beds. So I was like, yeah, let's just mix things up a little bit and put 2 separate beds in here. And I think these beds are from Horse Ranch as well. I just thought they fit with the vibe super well. And when I was taking the screenshots of this room to add to the end of my video, so they're at the end of the video, they turned out so nicely. I took a screenshot of that area of the bedroom where the dresser is, and it looked so good. It looked so realistic and just really lived in, and I was genuinely thrilled with it. So I really hope you enjoy this house, but that is pretty much it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like to download this house from the gallery, you can do so right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box just down below. You can get them for free from Sim File Share. But thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining me here today. You all take care, and I will see you next time I upload a video. Bye!